if you see farming practices like peasant farmers and small communities, they're not only producing food, they're multiplying diversity and they're creating beauty along the way. So, I say that chinampas are the future because in a way they make us remember that we do have the answers. We don't have to invent or we don't have to wait for a technology to come or something to save us. We already know the way.
Hey folks, thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of the Ecosystem Member Podcast. Our guest this week is the co-founder of Arca Tierra and Baldio in Mexico City, Pablo Usobiaga. Arca Tierra is a collection of 10 chinampas, which are artificial islands built 2,000 years ago on the 5 lakes under Mexico City and are one of the most efficient food production systems known to man. Valdio is a hyperlocal restaurant that actually sources from those chinampas and focuses on ingredients from Mexico. So you won't find any Coca-Cola, there won't be any European wine, and there will be no New Zealand beef on the menu. In this episode, we hear from Pablo about how he views his own relationship with nature, why the chinampas are valuable and why most were abandoned, and he explains what he means by the phrase, "the future is ancestral." I will warn you, there is a section towards the end of the podcast where Pablo outlines what you can find on the Baldio menu, and it sounds absolutely incredible. Your mouth will be watering. It is very local and unique even among restaurants in Mexico. You'll probably be very hungry after hearing it, if not on your phone, seeing how quickly you can book a flight to visit Baldio yourself. As always, please make sure to leave us a positive review on your preferred podcast platform. It helps people find the show. And if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up on the video and subscribe to our channel. Without further delay, here's the latest episode of the Ecosystem Member Podcast with Pablo Usobiaga. Today on the Ecosystem Member Podcast, I am really excited to be joined by Pablo Usobiaga, co-founder of Arca Tierra and Baldio in Mexico City. Thanks for joining us, Pablo.
Thank you, Rick, for inviting me.
So we always ask our guests the same first question, like as a person, as a co-founder, a culinary entrepreneur, how do you think about your relationship with nature?
Well, I think it sounds like a simple question, but it's quite complex. It's changed a lot through the course of my life, but nowadays I think I realize that nature, even using the term nature, like humans and nature, is a bit awkward because I think we're part of it. We're interconnected. We're not separated from nature. I mean, some Native Americans and some indigenous people from Mexico recognize nature as a living thing, as something that's like an extension or something that's part of humans, you know? So even using the term nature sometimes tends to see it and think of it as like it is nature instead of a being. I think nature is us. It's part of us, and it's a system that's interconnected. It's a system full of collaboration, full of beauty, full of wisdom, and it's everything, really.
And to that interconnection, our food system is a really good example of that. Why did you decide to pursue working in farming and ingredients? I know you supplied a lot of really famous restaurants in Mexico before creating Baldio. Why did you decide to pursue food?
One of the main reasons is my brother. He's the one that started up with this huge idea of connecting the chinampas. That the chinampas are these artificial islands in the middle of, the southern part of Mexico City and the city. But mainly food, I think, is like the universal entrance, the door, the connection between everyone. I mean, what's more universal and common than food? Music, food and drinks, you know? So if we do want to have an impact, and I mean impact, making people realize that we should reconnect with nature, that we should value and see the immense importance of peasant farmers and the immense importance of knowing where food comes from. I mean, the only way to have that impact, in my opinion, or the biggest way to have an impact, is through food. And food also connects us with hospitality. And I think that as human beings and as part of the nature, one of the most beautiful things we can do is connect with other human beings. And food is a huge tool to. I mean, we serve in the Chinampas and in Valdio to thousands and thousands of people each year, and sometimes it's because they're celebrating a birthday or something, but sometimes it's because they go there after a funeral. No, I'm just like putting extremes, but restaurants is our place, and food is a vehicle through which we can connect with human beings.
And those Chinampas, you gave a talk at the recent MAD symposium. Chinampas are the future, but maybe can you also share a little bit of what you shared in that talk about sort of their history, where they came from, why were they so important, what happened that they went away, and then why are they the future?
Of course. I mean, I said Chinampas are the future because I think Chinampas are a reflection of what's going on worldwide. You can learn a lot from the Chinampas. We talk about the Chinampas in Arca Tierra. We have this concept that we call the teacher Chinampa, the mother Chinampa. Like if the Chinampa was a real person, which is weird to say, but like a real being, because we learn a lot from them. You need to know that Mexico City was built on the top of 5 lakes, like literally. If you see if you see drawings or paintings about Mexico City before the Spanish came, it's literally a canal system full of islands. Such a beautiful system surrounded by volcanoes, and it's a valley. And the Chinampas are these artificial islands that were built almost 2,000 years ago to produce food in the wetlands. Uh, so the Chinampas were the pillar for the empire. I would say it was the it was a pillar because it was a food production system, the most efficient food production system I've ever known worldwide, and it still exists, although it's disappearing because it's in the southern part of Mexico City. I mean, I'm in the downtown part of Mexico City right now, and if I drive to the Chinampas, I would take 35 minutes. So it's inside Mexico City, and it's disappearing because it's abandoned in many ways. Like more than 60% of the Chinampas are abandoned, and the city started to devour the Chinampas. We still have like 200 and something kilometers of canals on Chinampas, but the Chinampas were built by humans, which is really astonishing to realize that 2,000 years ago, these Chinampas were built by humans. And one of the big teachings, learnings from the Chinampas is that humans can have a positive impact, because once the Chinampas were built, the diversity in the Valley of Mexico was multiplied. So now we're afraid of ourselves, and maybe we're right to be a bit afraid because we're destroying everything we touch in a way.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Chinampas make us remember that it's exactly the opposite. Humans can have a positive impact. We are here to guide ecosystems in this process of course, more complexity, regeneration, and beauty. If you see farming practices like peasant farmers and small communities, they're not only producing food, they're multiplying diversity and they're creating beauty along the way. So, yeah, I say that Chinampas are the future because, in a way, they make us remember that we do have the answers. We don't have to invent, or we don't have to wait for a technology to come or something to save us. We already know the way. And we have this saying in Arca Tierra, and I've read it in many cultures. It's like from New Zealand, from North America, from Europe, from Asia, and we say that the future is ancestral, and
Hmm.
we don't want to romanticize the past, because I think we're in a very good position right now. Think, and we know that the answers are already with us, and we need to look back in order to move forwards.
That's awesome. Yeah. And so to get like give us some context, like you've got these chinampas that are, having a positive impact, increasing diversity, as you mentioned, one of the most efficient food production systems in the world. And we've let sort of technology and chemicals and all this other sort of stuff sort of come in these modern mass agricultural farms. Runoff is polluting our oceans and bodies of water. Pesticides are killing our pollinators. How do you compare? Do you have any data or insight on like the ecological or environmental impact of the chinampas versus sort of the standard modern farm?
Yes, of course. I mean, I'm not against technology. I think although the future is ancestral, we have to use technology, and I think that's an amazing tool to go
Hmm.
forwards. I mean, putting poison into the soil, that's another completely different thing. But of course, while we produce food through the Chinampa way, and it's not only Chinampas, you can do it everywhere. I mean, it's easier to do it in the Chinampas because we have the mud from the bottom of the canals that it's full of organic matter, and we have a lot of water, and we have the weather of Mexico City. Like we have everything that's needed to create food and to produce food and beauty along the way. But it's a reflection of not just the Chinampas everywhere. I mean, I'm sure you've read how many farmers from around the world have even committed suicide because their lands, their soil is not growing food or productive anymore, and it is because not only of fertilizers and agrochemicals and poison, it's also because of lack of diversity. I mean, nature builds resiliency through complexity, and the food system, the food industry has this goal, and it's very effective, and they've done it in a very astonishing way to remove complexity from nature. And once nature is is taken away from this complexity, it becomes weak and it becomes very vulnerable to everything. It's like humans. If you're tired, if you are not sleeping well, if you are, I don't know, you get ill. It's the same with nature. It comes from this complexity. The system we use in the Chinampas that now it's called regenerative farming or agroecology or agroforestry. It's diversity. It's mostly diversity. And it not only grows food in a way that it's more delicious because it is important, the flavor, but it
Hmm.
grows food in a way that it has more nutrition in its inside, and it also grows food in a way that farmers can have a livelihood, like they can be valued and they can be paid what they deserve, because for us they are the most important people on earth. Without them, we're doomed. They're the ones that produce food and create this beauty. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of objective data about how much food can be produced through a diverse way against these monocultures. I mean, if you see a monoculture, they only see soil as a horizontal surface, like it's extraction, extraction, extraction. And if you see regenerative agriculture, you can have the like three, four, five seeds within 1 square meter. If I talk about the milpa, the three sisters or four sisters, that's the pillar of Mexican cuisine and nutrition. It's like tortillas. Well, it's maize, it's chili, it's squash. You know, you can put a lot of things in there. And if you grow a milpa through the diverse way in the same plot of land, and meters away you just grow maize by its own, you can realize how faster diverse way grows, how stronger, how more efficient, how more delicious it grows. So I think we know it as humans because we're part of the system. Maybe we've forgotten it, but diversity is the way. It's the only way to move forward.
And why did these chinampas fall out of use? Was it just like people wanted it easier? Were outside people just coming in and using the land for other things, or the artificial land for other things? Like, why did they fall out of use?
We could talk about 3 hours about this subject because, of course, it's Mexico and it's a huge country. I don't know how many people realize how big Mexico is and how diverse Mexico is, and all the social, political, economical problems that have come to Mexico because we're neighbors with the US, because we were conquered by the Spanish, because we have a lot of native tongues, because it's not a country. I would say it's like many different countries within a country, Mexico. And I say that because the Chinampas were like this pillar. And when the Spanish came, and it's not only the Spanish, when we got independent, there was this shift of the cosmovision between being one with nature and collaboration with nature, and then became this part of extraction, like nature as a resource, nature as something we can control. I think controlling nature is the biggest shift in our mindset in Mexico. And then the Chinampas were like the water in Mexico. We were built on top of like 5 lakes. And now if you come 5 lakes, and if you come now to Mexico City, you realize that we don't have water. Like many neighborhoods in Mexico don't have water. That's a reality. It's this shift from being masters of water to controlling nature to creating this city that's really in a difficult position. And now the Chinampas, as everywhere in the world, I mean, farming practices are not something that young people want to do because it's not well paid, it's difficult work, it's not well seen. I mean, peasant farmers are often seen as ignorant or stupid, or that's a reality. So I say the Chinampas are a reflection of everywhere else because the abandonment of the Chinampas is a consequence of many different things. And now, since they're abandoned, the city is starting to devour them. And by devour them, I mean like houses are being built on top of the Chinampas. The biggest business in the Chinampas nowadays is tourism, football fields and bars and party boats, which I mean, I don't criticize that because that's what people that own the Chinampas need to do to earn a living. And it's much better having that than abandoning the Chinampas. Even Arca Tierra, our biggest income does not come from selling vegetables to the best restaurants in Mexico. It comes from tourism in the Chinampas. So it's not easy to earn like a dignified living livelihood through food production with regenerative practices. That's a reality. And I mean, we could go deeper into that because food industry has taken over in so many complex ways that it's difficult. But the Chinampas are abandoned, are really abandoned, and now we're starting to see these shifts. The government starting to put a bit more effort into recovering it because they realize how important they are. But I think we're not moving fast enough.
And I think what's interesting what you're talking about there about, being able to farm in a ecologically, environmentally responsible way, regenerative practices. Chefs clearly respect this. And there's a unique relationship you have between Arca Tierra and Baldio that I definitely want you to explain. But like, people will pay a lot of money for a nice meal that the chef has carefully selected, really delicious, high flavor, high nutrition ingredients, but they don't necessarily pay for it direct from there. So can you talk about how like those two pieces of what you're doing actually work together to, get these products to market, and maybe by showing it to people in a restaurant and helping them connect the dots, they appreciate the ingredients more and the chinampas more?
I mean, I would start saying that chefs have been immense partners for Arca Tierra and for the movement we're trying to do. They're our friends. We admire them. But after saying that, I think chefs and kitchens and nature have a different language. I mean, this strive for consistency, for aesthetics, for having the same ingredient, the same color, the same size every day, it's anti-nature. It's completely anti-nature. It goes against diversity. It goes against four monocultures. So, and on the other side, farmers talk a completely different language to chefs. So, Arca Tierra, we have our own farming team. We have a school, a farming school, but we also have this job, like we are a bridge between other farming families and restaurants because we want to translate the language between both parts of the system. I mean, in one part restaurants have a huge impact. What people eat and what they care for is deeply influenced by chefs. And this rock star status that chefs and restaurants have, it can be used for an immense good purpose, or it can be used for an immense negative purpose. So it's difficult to connect those two. Many restaurants do an enormous effort to work with nature. I would name like Maximo in Mexico City, one of my favorite restaurants, Lalo the chef. He's been there from day one. But the reality is that 95% of restaurants, at least in Mexico City, they consume 80% of their food from abroad. Like they import everything. They serve ingredients that are not Mexican. They buy from the central market and they just take the easy way out. So restaurants should be better and they could be better. And it's not that difficult. And that's why we opened Valdio in a way, like to show it is not that difficult. At least in Mexico City, we have everything to operate a restaurant that works with nature. I mean, when you write a menu, you don't need to write it and then you go with nature or to the central market. You need to go with nature and ask what it has and then write it. That's the only way that we can work with. And flavor and complexity and identity comes from that. I mean, some chefs like Dan Barber or Rene from Noma or many other chefs have realized that. But in Latin America and India and Africa, I mean, we're much more advanced than the northern countries in culture and cultural identity. And sometimes I feel a bit frustrated, like how not many chefs are representing our ecosystems, our identity, our cultural richness in Latin America. And I admire the chefs that I admire the most are the chefs that are really doing something not only for the environment, but for cultural identity. I mean, restaurants should be a vehicle for transformation, and they have this power, they have this attention, they have this impact. Yeah, working with nature, it may be not the most easy way out, but it's by far the most rewarding way.
And so I recorded an episode with Chef Ben Shuri of Attica in Melbourne, and he focuses a lot on native Australian ingredients. One of his signature dishes is a potato grown in the soil that it was cooked in the soil it was grown in. And he talks about the first times he was serving that to people, they would ask, where's the meat? Where's the, sort of animal protein to go alongside this potato, even though it was probably the most delicious potato that anyone could possibly ever serve anyone. There are chefs like Ben, like, Dan Hunter in Australia, who I think are somewhat respected for their creativity, and people put their trust in them now that they'll be able to take whatever's seasonal and create something amazing for it. But there's a lot of chefs, kind of like what you're saying, where they have a signature dish, and if someone goes to that restaurant of that chef and they don't have that signature dish on the menu, even if it's completely out of season, people get frustrated. So like when we think about like the demand chain, where do you think that push comes from? Do you think it's about like diners being more open-minded, farmers helping figure out how to grow the right things based on the season for them? Is it more about chefs like taking a bigger risk, even though the restaurant industry I know is not usually profitable unless you get to the very high end? Like, or is it a combination of all three? Where's the leverage point?
I mean, it's an amazing question because it comes from the three parts, like from farming, from restaurants, and from the consumer. Restaurants are a very risky business, and I completely understand chefs that they cannot remove a dish from their menu if it's a hit, because restaurants are very difficult. They are not very prone to taking these risks because their business can fall out. That's a reality. But it's because most consumers don't give a shit, like about seasonality. Seasonality, it's like who asks the question when they go to restaurants? I mean, younger generations are starting to do it, and I'm very, very, very happy for it. But it's who asks the question, like, where is this tuna coming from? Where is this caviar coming from in Mexico City? Where is this champagne coming from? No one does. That's a reality. So chefs serve what consumers want to eat. And in the same way, farmers grow what consumers eat and what chefs cook. So it's part of the same circle. I once heard this amazing quote from Graciela, that she's a master mezcalera. She has one of the most amazing mezcal brands in Mexico City called Real Minero. And she said, farmers grow what consumers demand. That's it. If we don't consume diversity, we lose diversity. And it's true. Farmers, why would farmers grow? I don't know. I would put like mesquite, no, or a difficult ingredient that's not very resilient or something. If no one's eating it, if no one's buying it, so what you're saying and your question comes, it's very on point with what we're trying to do, because through Arca Tierra, we're producing food, we're creating food. Through Valdio, we're serving food, and we have those two pieces in control. What we don't have in control is the consumer. And when we opened Valdio, we knew it was going to be uh, an interesting, complicated project, because we don't serve Coca-Cola, we don't serve any European wine, we don't serve anything that comes from anywhere but central Mexico. And we've had guests like saying, "Why are you not serving Coca-Cola? Are you stupid?" I even One of my friends before opening told me, "If you don't serve Coca-Cola with Bacardi, you're not gonna make it." I mean, he said it laughing, but he had a point.
Yeah.
And it is difficult. It's people, and a lot of people are starting to realize that it's a way to go. It's starting to be in Mexico. I think we're a bit back in some trends, and I wouldn't like like zero waste and the locality and seasonality being a trend, but it is, like people are starting to see it as a next big thing, as a cool thing. And even brands like luxury brands, they're talking about nature and going back. I don't care if it's greenwashing for them, but I think it's beginning to get this momentum, this really important attention, and I'm happy for it. But it's not the easy way out. Like, people ask me, do you think Valdio will inspire other restaurants to become zero waste and local? And I say, if they just do it for the trend, they're going to get tired, because it's more difficult. They need to believe in it. And not only the owners or the chef, the whole team, there needs to be a culture where they do it because they believe. If they don't believe, they're going to just stop doing it. I mean, it's easier to buy everything from the central market. It's easier to buy everything with plastic. We have it even in our cell phone. Like, you can order something and in 10 minutes, 20 minutes, it's going to be in your restaurant. But it's more difficult, but it's much more rewarding. And in the end, the food tastes better. And there's this argument, of course, about economics. In Baldio, our food cost is around 20%. And then the industry in Mexico, it's around 30%. So it's not because we're extremely expensive, it's because we use every ingredient completely. And I mean, we're buying food that's much more expensive than the central market. I would say we're paying twice or three times more than any restaurant for their produce.
And one of the things, I know you guys worked with Douglas McMaster on Baldio and putting that together, and I got to chat with him for another project about Silo in London. And we talked a lot about the importance of his staff, because when I ate it at Silo, the amazing thing was that I was sitting at like the bar area near the grill, and as I was getting served dishes, I was being described where the ingredients came from, how they prepared it. And it made the experience, even if I already knew a lot before coming in, but it made me a lot more educated when I left. So that way, when I told other people, like, you got to go to Silo, the food's amazing, but this is how they actually put it together. It's kind of bonkers. Do you guys focus with the service staff helping educate the customers in the restaurant? Or do you think it's just something that it's a nice to do, but most people don't really care?
I mean, I think the first thing we need to know, and that's how the team works, is that people go to restaurants to have a good time. They want to have an amazing meal. They want to have a good time. They want to celebrate something, or they want to be just left alone. It's like that's the first premise. Then when waitresses start talking about the menu, they do drop some hints. Like they say the names of the farmers, the regions of the ingredients, but we never ever say like, "Hi, welcome to Valdio. We're a zero waste restaurant. We have a green Michelin." No, no, no. It's like we have these ferments. Even in our menu, Doc has 10 years of experience to zero waste,
Yeah.
so he knows the tricks. He was like, never ever put in your menu koji or garum or shiokoji or these words that no one understands really, or some people understand, but you don't want people to feel they're ignorant. You don't want
Hmm.
people to feel that they're shit because it's like I'm not zero waste and I feel bad because I went to Valdio and they do all this and I'm not doing anything. So you just want people to have a good time. And of course, if someone asks and say, "Oh, I heard you were doing this," or tell me about your ferments, then we go all in. And I mean, we're waiting for someone to ask,
Yeah.
but it's only if they ask. Before that, we only talk about regions and about ingredients and about people.
Yeah.
Because I think the sustainability discourse and the speech has failed a lot
Hmm.
because it generates a lot of apathy from on people because they feel ignorant and because they feel that nothing we can do as individuals can really have an impact. And it's
Yeah.
exactly the opposite. It's like what we do as individuals is the most important thing, and there is a way out. So it's trying to be uplifting and optimistic and have a good time, just have an amazing time. And then you'll come back and maybe your second time you'll ask about the ingredients and you'll tell your friends, and that's one by one.
Yeah. No, I like that approach too. I was at a restaurant called Otto in Berlin, and we were it's sort of at the chef's counter thing that they had, and my wife and I asked the chef about like these pickled green tomatoes that they had on the menu, and he was just so excited to tell me. It was just like, this is our garden. It's this place in, outside the city, and it was actually like his family's garden. So I think that's a super valid approach to do it as well, and it allows people to kind of discover it on their own. So maybe to talk a little bit about the fun stuff. Somebody's listening to this, they're going to Mexico, they're thinking about booking at Baldio. What does the menu look like? Is it seasonal? Is it a
Hmm.
set menu? Like, what do you guys like to feature? What is sort of the ethos?
It's extremely seasonal and completely local. We have a tasting menu, and we also have an a la carte menu. We don't pretend to be extremely fine dining. I think we're on the edge of fine dining and casual dining. The fixed menu is, I would say, 50% vegetable, 50% animal protein. I would say the menu is a bit like a representation of Mexico's landscapes. We have fish that comes from Oaxaca. We have trout that comes from Michoacan. We have pork that comes from Veracruz. We have tomatoes that come from the Chinampas. We have broccoli that comes from the Chinampas. We have a lot of moles. That mole is the most traditional, delicious sauce you will ever taste in your life, even better than curry, even better than curry, really. Uh, so we have the drink section. It's for me it's amazing because we have local drinks. As we make our own tepache, that's a soda with fruits. We have pulque, that's a ferment from agave. We have a big selection of mezcales, tequila. We also have gin. We have whiskey. Everything Mexican. We have wines. And if you read the menu, like we have some tacos, and if you read the menu, you would say, "Oh, this is pretty basic, simple, delicious stuff." But if you ask about it, and if you go deep in it, it's just extremely deeply complex, all the ingredients that we're using. And we use a lot of fermentation because especially koji based fermentation is massively important. I would say even necessary for zero waste. So you could have a pork taco with a tamarind mole, but
Hmm.
if you read the 35 ingredients it has behind it, it would blow your mind. And then we have the tasting menu, That's a 7-course tasting menu. You don't take more than an hour and a half to try it. It's like we want to keep it simple and casual. And it's just like a journey through Mexico's landscapes. We have a tostada that's like a fried tortilla with some worms from the agave, with some flowers from the agave, with a guaca broccoli. That's a guacamole with broccoli.
Wow.
We have a pork loin with a curry mole made from seeds from the chilies. We have an ice cream made with amaranth and mesquite. That's another local ingredient. So it's really Mexican, but it really tastes different because of the circular system and because we're using ingredients that I would say no one else in Mexico City is using, and it's local ingredients. And we even have some local guests, even friends of mine, that say your menu is crazy exotic. It's so it's delicious, but it's like something I never tried. And when they use the word exotic, I just laugh because it's like it's exactly the opposite. It's nothing exotic. Like maybe trying a Mexican gin sounds exotic or a Mexican whiskey, but I would say trying a Japanese whiskey is exotic in Mexico, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
the pairing, instead of serving wines and everything, we serve mezcales, cocktails, and things we do by ourselves. Like we don't buy ingredients and we transform them. We don't buy anything from industrial parts of the chain.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. So, to kind of bring our conversation to a close, you mentioned there quickly the Michelin Green Star you guys got for Valdio. For this project for Arca Tierra, what does success look like to you? Is there a number? Is there like a feeling? Is there a vibe that you're like, oh, now we finally done it? Or is it just never gonna? Is it kind of like nature and it's like we're never finished? It's just gonna go from one thing to the next.
I mean, I think it will never finish, and sometimes I feel doomed because we always want more, but it's not growth in a way like capitalism growth. For me, yesterday we had the posada, the party for the end of the year with Valdio, with all the team. We're more than 30 people, and for me, the feeling of seeing everyone convinced and spreading the words and being they're feeling. I heard some speeches from some members of the team, and they're just saying, "I've been working in the food industry for 7, 8, 10 years, and this is the first time I'm happy. This is the first time I go to my workplace, and I not only enjoy what I'm doing, but I know we're doing something with impact." And for me, that's it. It might sound a bit cliche and a bit like you're full of bullshit, Pablo, but I, I mean, for me, it's fulfillment of giving joy to other people, being guests, and giving joy to our own team, and knowing that we're having an impact extremely local. I think we won't change the world. We won't save the world. We won't change the industry, but we're part of a bigger movement. And I think we're on the right side. And maybe when Baldio disappears or in 10 years or in 20 years, I will look back, or in 40 years, I don't know if I'm still alive, I will look back and I will say, I spent part of my life or my whole life doing something that made me happy and that I know made other people happy. And that for me is more than enough. I mean, that's what hospitality is about. It's making people happy. We're in that industry. And if we make people happy in a profound way and not just a superficial way, it's everything I can expect to. Money, Michelin stars, recognition. I mean, it's important. I won't say I'm above that because it is important. And I was extremely happy the day we got the green Michelin star, but it's it really is not part of our objectives.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I really love that mission. So thank you so much, Pablo, for joining us today on Ecosystem Member. I can't wait to get this out to folks. I think it'll be a really interesting listen, and hopefully they can dig in and sort of check out the example you all are setting down in Mexico. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rick.